The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Check, check. Yep, green bars, I should be okay. All right, all right. So greetings, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. No matter where you are around the globe, I'm glad you are here. Oh boy, there's a big question there. Let me see if I can put my glasses on for that one. No problem. Good afternoon, good evening. So how's everybody doing on this fine Wednesday? Some of you it's Thursday, some of you it's wee hours of the morning. Appreciate seeing your names here. You Aussies that are here, Kiwis that are here. Morning, yeah, I hear you. London, UK. Got a bunch of Londoners. Got a bunch of UK folks. Got a bunch more coming on too. Hey, Christian, how you doing, sir? Matt, back in Ontario. Good to sleep in his own bed, he says. Ukraine, awesome. Jupiter. Uh, I don't know, Trevor. You're not showing up like that now. He was asking if he had his chat box on one window and the view on the other, if that makes it look like he's doing something else. I don't know how it measures it other than probably something with active panes, and I don't know how it does it then for the people on Macs as well. Cancun, I think you need some one-on-one training down in Cancun. Well, Trinidad wouldn't be too bad either. That sounds good. Welcome anytime. All right, I love it. So, any questions before we start off? I'm just going to do a freestyling day today. I know Miss Zoe can't be here because she's on her way back from Thailand to Australia. Man, she's been having a fun week with lots of kids and young kids, and probably not so much. Tab 29 questions about tab 29 itself belong in the tab 29 groups. But if you're using tab 29 in conjunction with forks or scans or trend lines, channels, stuff like that, then it's okay to post in the scans, forks, and fibos group. But if it's specific tab 29 questions, they really belong in the individual groups, which will be one group here very shortly. Almost got that done. It's not like just make a group and go for those of you that are going to be in the unification program for tab 29. There's some other stuff I'm trying to do at the same time to make it a comprehensive change and move and update records and lots of good stuff. Well, if it's 15-minute and below waveology, then it's okay to bring it to the scans, forks, and fibos group because people with fast will benefit from that. Could you go over the third hit on a trend line and when the third hit rule does not apply? Whew. It's not so much that it doesn't apply, it's just, do you have enough knowledge? Are you trying to force something that isn't there and just hoping it's there? So I'll answer that question. Let's look at my infamous blackboard. Well, one example would be when we have a trend line and we have an up move and we have touches, and so remember our concerns about this is that we can have a move down that then retests that trend line, and in terms of stop losses, our stop loss has grown. So if we have a stop loss here and now we have a stop loss here, allowing price to come back to the trend line, which you have to do, otherwise you're not using it as a trend line. So in order to allow a retest in short proximity of where you entered, you're literally, you're increasing the size of your stop, potentially, theoretically, hypothetically, depending on how much room we have, what size scale we're dealing with, etc. Hey, Johnny, glad you could be here. So that's one consideration where you'd have to be leery of, the third bounce. Let me give you another example. And we'll actually talk about this Monday in our wedges and triangles class. For those that can come to it. See, we have an up channel, which we want to do buys on. Not do buy, but do buys. No Dubai. Doobie doobie doo. All right. So third hit looks good. The trouble is, depending on where this is positioned and what else we have going on and what our other indicators say, this very well could be a wedge or a triangle. And they may break either way. And so one of the things you have to get close to is seeing, in terms of these moves, how much distance are we really covering And then what do our indicators tell us? This almost inevitably is going to be some sort of retrace. It may be a clayway retrace, etc. This may be the clayway retrace. If you don't see the triangle, if you don't see the wedge, you may totally miss that because you're just focusing on the buy on your trend line. Okay. Does that make sense? So there's a couple cases where you just, look, if you're going to be with me, you have to understand something. I'm here to teach a body of knowledge. It's a little bit like the old, multi-class schoolhouse, reading, writing, arithmetic, right? Reading, writing, arithmetic. So I'm going to teach a core body of knowledge. You don't walk into that class in the old schoolhouse and expect to come out after the first week or the first month and be able to go directly to college or go out and get, $100,000, $200,000 a year job. It requires the whole understanding of the body of knowledge. So I often chase people away, not intentionally, but because of reality, because they don't like hearing that. So over time, you will understand pitchforks. Over time, you'll understand the use of the harmonic scanner. Over time, you'll understand how to use Fibonacci in advanced ways. Over time, you'll understand waveology. Okay, so there are no holy grail answers. One of our, the huffing was I'm cleaning my glasses. We had a trader who was talking about they had just gotten around to watching the Mindset Mastery from last week today, and I don't remember the exact phraseology, but their conclusion was, there is a holy grail to trading. I'm the holy grail. And that's 100% correct. That was the right summation. That was the right conclusion. So I don't know if that totally answers your questions, Doug, but it addresses some of it. You will gain more insight as to third lines on a trend line, third lines on a pitchfork. Now, one of the things we look for in terms of, let's say, this top picture, where we're doing a sell against a buy channel is, do we have any kind of EP, energy point up here, or strong resistance support mechanism, in this case resistance, that would make it a higher probability trade. Remember, we're all about stacking probabilities. Maybe we see an INS line there. Maybe we do a Fibbo projection or a Fibbo extended retracement and we get a line within a pip or two of that. So the stronger we build the case for, oh, gee, if it bounces there, it very well may be a trade, the better off we are. And then you want to confirm that with anything you would see, in FAST or TAB. So there are some cases where you'd want to be careful. And the thing is, here's the deal, and I constantly work with traders on this. Don't try and force something. Don't take your knowledge, which admittedly is not complete. Hell, my knowledge is not complete. We never stop learning. But don't take your knowledge, which is not complete, and that varies for a lot of you. That might be, I got 10% more to go, maybe. And some of you might have 90% more to go. But it doesn't matter where you are on that continuum. Don't take the knowledge that you have and try and force it into a, square peg round hole. Don't try and force it someplace where you're not 100% sure. Go with your KSP. Go with the stuff works. And instead of trying to force a situation, go find more situations that work. Now, you could be curious about it. You can MacGyver it. You can say, well, this is a sell on a buy channel, and there's kind of sort of a resistance line there. Well, in terms of demo trading, for your laboratory work, then demo trade it for your laboratory work and write it up as a lab report. Don't write it up as a trade that you took, and at the end of the month, oh, I've only won 20% of trades this month. I suck as a trader. Because, you got to distinguish between full-on acknowledgement of your demo account as your laboratory versus it trying to be a proving ground for your ego. If you're still fighting the ego part at times, then I would suggest you don't take that trade, but you can observe it. You can go back and make a note. Hey, go back and look at May 15th at 17:15 Eastern and see what happened. And you could learn that way too. But don't fuel your ego. All right, Gary, I just got to your question, but I'm glad you solved it because I'm down there now. I could see your name down below, and I'm trying to see if you got it back, so I'm glad you got it back. Sorry about that. Is it a good idea to trade on 4-hour or daily time frames? If you're talking AI software, that's a different story. But in terms of manual trading, if you're a newer trader, it's not the place I would suggest you cut your teeth. No, hang around longer, you'll understand why. That's old paradigm trading, and it's going to work against you and your psychological growth. Well, there you go. If you know it's wrong and you do it anyway, then yeah, you don't need to bring that to the group. Trade cake. I like that. That's a great way of saying it, Aaron. Trade cake. The variety of ingredients we have to make a trade cake. I like that. I am my own Jedi Master. Yes, you are, Lydia Jean. Pick what works for you in all of the information and teaching. Absolutely. What works for you, where you have a calling, etc. But don't try and do 57 different things. I may teach 57 different things because each, it appeals, certain things appeal to some people. That in nowhere, indeed, I was talking to a trader this afternoon about just this, where he could trade several things. And you have, the question for him that I posed to him is, what are you trying to do? Are you exercising your ego by trying to learn more? Or do you want to reward yourself by putting pips in the bank? Now, see, remember why we often try and learn more when we can already make pips. Part of that is ego, okay? Part of that, too, is sometimes a fear of trying to make pips and failing. So you want to keep experimenting. You want to keep researching. You want to keep looking for other stuff because that then is trade avoidance. And while you will preserve and protect your capital with trade avoidance, you never get to the point of building it. Remember, there's an and then part to that money management. Conserve and protect and then build your account. Is there anything outside, speaking of Traders Mindset Mastery, is there anything outside the Scans, Forks, and Fibos group we should get registered for? Well, I have said join Next Level Seekers. It's a Facebook group where slowly I trickle stuff, and that drip is going to get harder and faster once I get this website unification and group unification thing done. No, the third, yeah, no, I understand what you were saying. I'm just saying sometimes the third hit on a trend line is perfect, and sometimes you have to be cautious with it, and it just depends on, Well, I told somebody not to start off with 4-hour or daily charts, and I guess they didn't like my answer. They left the group. They left the session. Maybe, or did they come back? Maybe they came back. I don't know. Yeah, BB's on a daily. There you go. So somebody's reporting, I have good news to share with you. I've won all of my demo trades. I followed your advice, took 5 pips and got out. No greed. Some were more, of course. I averaged 6% a day. Oh, there you go. Obviously, you have to be careful. I have to be careful when I say that. Trading can be risky. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Trade only money you can afford to lose. Nobody ever solicits an investment invitation, etc. But yeah, that's really good. And I know what you were trying to say there, but it's not so much take 5 pips and get out as it is 5 pips a day is all you need. Sometimes, I don't want you guys to try and stretch a trade to 5 pips if it's only going to give you 3. Again, if you're reading the waves and it says get out, or you're encountering a resistance or support barrier, and you only have 3 pips and it's hesitating, it's okay to exit then and bank the 3 pips. Now you need 2 more pips or another 3 pip trade to get your 5 pips for the day. But the point is, 5 pips for the day is all you really need in new paradigm trading. Yeah, so don't just exit automatically because it's 5 pips. And I couldn't tell if you were saying that or if that's just, how it came out in text, because I know it's, yeah. Okay, good. Watch your programming. In other words, all I ever see are harmonic wave convergence that are too small. That's what you're going to continue to see, right? Well, the thing I would say there is, by comparison, this is why we have groups, guys. This is why we have a big group, and if you guys work with me, we have subgroups, smaller groups. But the concept is the same in any group, and that is, don't struggle with what you're achieving. Look left and right. In other words, the value in the group is not just a place for you to go post your trades. The value in a group is for you to see what other people are doing who are at similar skill levels, are similar tenured levels as far as progress of knowledge in a particular area, and see what they're doing. And so, if you find that every time you go to the charts you can't find the right kind of trade, but other people are posting them, then it does mean that those trades are available, right? I always answer questions if there's questions first. That's just a rule of thumb. Should I change my lot size on each trade or the start of a new day? Depends on how many pips you make. I mean, from a decimal standpoint, if you make $5 on a trade, it does change your account balance, but the number of lots you're going to impact might be out 4 decimal places. So your account balance totally, determines it. One thing you can do if you're using trade calc, which I would encourage you to do for position sizing, is when you are at a certain level, oh, I should be trading 8 lots here, micro lots, whatever. Based on your current account balance, I would keep incrementing the balance until it jumps from 8 to 9 lots. And I'm talking micro lots here, not standard lots. So if you're trading a micro account and your balance lets you trade 8 lots, TradeCalc shows you the decimal so you can see where it rounds off. And it'll say, number of lots put into a trade or whatever. So you just increment it up until it flips to 9. So now you know where your balance is, how far you could gain in your account until it's going to bump you up an extra lot into a trade. So anything in that range, you just keep at 8. Make sense? No, it's on TradeCalc, not PipCalc. On TradeCalc, the pip value, if you're in a standard account at $10 a pip, that's only for US pairs. So if you're trading things like the Euro Aussie, you need to go find the pip value for a Euro Aussie. There's tables you can Google for pip values. Yeah, because look, let me see here for a second. I have one at one of my sites actually. Bear with me one second. Okay, I need to take that off. That's why it's not showing up. So, if you look here, what you'll notice is that your USD pairs will always be $10. Your pip's always going to be set at $10. But if you look at other pairs, look at the Euro CAD, $7.44. So it's going to impact the number of lots you can put into a trade based on your stop loss and your account, because that's impacting it. So it'll have your major positions, and there's charts and tables all over that you can go to find the value of a pip. Yep, $10 is off, and that's why very few people understand how to do position sizing in the Forex because you're taught wrong. The whole use 0.01 per thousand. I'm not talking about EAs. I'm just talking about when people have trade signals and stuff like that, and they give you a general rule of thumb like that. It's way off based on the pair that you're trading. Okay. Glad we were able to answer that. Let's see. Yeah, let's go back to the very beginning how to do risk, how to calculate risk, etc. Those are very important. No, you cannot use, I said this the other day, the 13 and 62 cross is not accurate as a turnaround point of entry. It does mark the demarcation of a flip, but generally the harmonic wave convergence has already occurred. So it does tell you the trend, and it does tell you that the trend is deepening by the further separation you get, but you can't use them. It's not harmonic wave convergence is the definitive real-time understanding of when waves change. Okay. That's okay, I get it. All right, I think I got most of the questions. Yeah, why you should use pitchforks still there. We're going to massage all of that, and because our emphasis is really going to be scans, Charlie Delta, X-ray Alpha, and X-ray Alpha Charlie to begin, I got to come up with a cute name besides X-ray Alpha Charlie, because they're there and it's so abundant. Well, the first place to start, since we're featuring the scanner and all we do, is to get yourself the scanner so you can start to learn how to do it. And Clay, if you would do me a favor and post in the ScanSporks and Fibbo group your overview of the scanner, and then I'll put it in the archives. We're going to start to have specified sessions put in the archives as well. Okay, Mackenzie, just hit me up. Well, different story, Perry, but TradeRinger increments trades based on what it's doing. So it's not doing it based on that kind of risk. When you get into an EA and it's making multiple trades and you have multiple trades open, you can't calculate the risk unless you have, like TradeRinger does, an equity protection. That becomes your stop essentially. And so if you have your equity protection set at 30, then you're willing to lose 30% of your account in a grouping of trades. It might be 10, 20 trades, right? But if the drawdown gets bad enough, the equity protector will kick in. And now it also takes in that product, it does take in consideration all your floats. So what you're floating positive, what you're floating negative, and it does the math. And once that all, with what you've already lost, exceeds 20%, then it depending on your settings, it will shut down. But there's no way of doing the risk there, because you would have to know the developer scheme and stop loss for every incremental trade they're adding. And they don't, you can watch over time and take note of that, but even at that, you're going to have to watch thousands of trades, because sometimes it does 2-3 trades right on top of each other, sometimes just a single trade. Sometimes the additional trades are same direction, sometimes they're opposite. Different pairs in the ring. So the developer is not going to release his schema for the algorithms and his criteria. So it's, ultimately what you're risking with an EA is whatever the accumulated potential is for losing. And in this case, if you have a equity protector or an equity stop, there were brokers, FXCM in the United States, even though it wasn't, before they got kicked out, even though it wasn't available in your trade station, you could actually call that broker and say, hey, I want an equity stop of 20%, and then you tell them over what given time, in a day or a week, or where do you want your equity stop, and they will actually program it in for you. They have the ability to do those settings on your account. And so at any given time, and what that does then is, it prevents runaway trades. But most of the time, brokers want you to lose. So that's why they don't have things like that in their trading stations. Okay, well, we're talking here today, we're looking at scans. I'm not going to mess with the sharks. Okay, here's a butterfly. So here's one. This is a 30-minute. So here you go. It's recently painted 2 candles ago. This is ideally what we're looking for. This is the setup at the beginning. Doesn't mean we'll stay with it, but it's the setup at the beginning. So let me see. I got my Magneto tool turned on. We could look at it a little and see if there, might be a BS fork that works. First glance, I would say, these are going to be my top ranges. If I'm looking for a fork that's generally going to point down, then I have a couple of choices for swing lows. Based on the height that I see here, this might be my first choice, and then I would expand it to the bigger choice. So let's look at the first one and see if we see a best fit first. I mean a before scan first. This is going to be a best fit. Let me take my glasses off on this monitor. I can see better. And I'll use the highest point. And swing low to swing high, back to a previous swing high. So that's a traditional fork. And when we do that, we do get a nice bounce. Look at this X coming just a little below. So we got 2 nice hits here, which I might be with that. Yeah, guys, you got to be careful. So we're on a 30-minute chart. If you don't know and you can't tell right away, some of the best things to get yourself kind of set up in a frame of reference would be to go ahead and, just measure the general width of the fork. Here we can see here it's about 50 pips. Okay, so that's one thing you would do. So you just get an idea for scale. The second thing we do is, don't pick these dark colors like, this deep chocolate brown or whatever, and then you're, so your fork's barely visible. And then what some people are doing to make it more visible, they come in here and they're making all of their lines, super wide. And depending on scale, the problem with that is now let me change it to another color so you can see what you've done. The problem with that is, if you're looking at a 4-hour fork and you make your lines thick like that, that line might be 5 or 10 pips thick. And so your ability to judge what a touch is and touch isn't very good. Right. And the other thing is, if you're drawing a single fork and you're going to bring it over, well, you can do it here too, and you're going to post it, I would make your fork colors stay in, the best you can, what we have set up and established for. If it's bright enough, you don't need any real thickness, but we do like to separate. If I've got a 50 pip channel here, you do want to make your upper parallel and your median and your lower parallel, and you can go ahead and use your quads as well as solid lines, and just make your ox, the ones that are dotted lines. No, Johnny, wait, where did that float to? Hold on. All the questions just floated around on me. No, we don't do shift in modified shift. We go right to best fit, because if you're going to have a shift or modified shift, the only place you would look to a shift. Let me try this again. The only place you would look to a shift is if you've just had another swing complete, and you're drawing a traditional fork, an Andrews traditional, and if you did it, it would be too steep. So then go ahead and do a modified fork. But for the most part, if you've already got data there, if it's going to be a shift or modified shift, by doing a best fit, you'll find it. So it just involves a lot of extra work trying to hunt down. Well, let me try to shift. Oh, let me try to modified shift. You just swing it on your own. The shift and modified shift fall out of Andrews. And if you trade with me, you understand that we can use best fit forks. They're proven now over 12 years, and they're going to be the majority of your trades. It's not in line with the old school of what an Andrews fork is. So in this particular case, we have a kind of traditional. It would slip by as passable. And we've got some good hits on it. We got 2 on the upper parallel. We got, right away, 80%, boom, tag, and then it continues onward. We've got another candle come up here. We got 1, 2, 3 tags here. We got a close here. We got another tag. Oh, my eye's off. That one's not quite a tag. We got another close here. So there's a lot of recognition. And then we've got, nice hit on the quad. We got a couple candle closes on the quad, some oct hits. So the alignment looks pretty good. But we have another scan, so that gives us more detail. No, the only reason I do it here is so we don't take up the time of me redrawing the scans on my trading view charts. Here's the deal, because I had a guy, that was having issues the other day, and I realized he was trying to trade off of his scanner. And you don't want to trade off the scanner. You can come here and do preliminary work until you got something that looks like it's going to set up for you, and then you move the scan and the fork over. But you don't do all your work here and keep it here. And there's no use converting it over right away until you realize that you have something to actually work with over there. So as a swing low to swing high, back to previous swing high, that meets the conditions for a traditional. We are getting good alignment with our fork, so we want to remember that. But we also have a scan there, which is based on Fibonacci, and so we want to consider that too. I would want to consider, maybe including the A at the top, maybe the C at the bottom. Okay. The C at the bottom almost gives us our traditional, but it's, it looks like it here, but I can tell you it's just off a little. You can see the distance here. Here it looks like it touches where it touched before, but look here, we've gone past it now because I've just moved this enough up to bring the fork lift down here, so this candle looks up and reaches above it. Oh yeah, excuse me, X. I was upside down. I was doing as if I was an Aussie. Wazzy. So, Tim, I have a question. Is calling somebody from New Zealand a Kiwi, is that derogatory? Would a New Zealander in proper fashion find that offensive to be called a Kiwi? No? Okay. Okay. Because I didn't want to be referring to people as Kiwi. I posted a little thing that Joe Hawley did, and I referred to as a Kiwi actress, and I didn't want to be offending anybody. Okay, good. Now, what about Canadians? Do you guys take offense to loons? I mean, we call the currency the loonie. Well, we used to. Modern folks, you millennial types are all chief. There's never it's the Swissy. It's not the chief. The Canadian is the loon. Yeah, chief. Chef. Yeah, chef. Yank. Yeah. Okay, so we can use the X. We can use the A. You know, obviously there's no D to play with. Going down to the C would cause breaches, and I don't think we'd want to do that, although it's, you know, it's perfectly logical and fine to do that. You might find some alignment elsewhere. You know, there are some good median touches there. We get the X to touch when we go X. Oh, look, X to C. Best trade ever, man. X to C. All right. Yeah. Oh, Kiwi is to New Zealanders like the eagle is to Americans. Okay. I mean, there's some good touches there too, so you don't know. But anyway, I would just look at that because there is data in front of this scan that can make a before scan fork viable. But let's talk about what we're really here for, and that is this new feature, relatively new, where we can get scan notifications, as I just showed you, on a C paint, C being identified, which then allows us to come in and draw an XA and this should be a downward pointing fork, and if we align with the C, oh, I've got to take my magnetic tool off. We then have a fork in play until we get different data, until we get more data. And so we could look at that. This is a 30-minute fork. I don't miss it one bit, Todd. And so what relevance is this now? Well, in theory, with these moves from major swing to major swing, you will note from the X to the A how impulsive that was. You will note from the B to the C how impulsive that was. All blue candles until the reversal. So the C to D is no different. It's a major swing. It should be rather impulsive, which means what? See, when you're on a 30-minute chart like this, and you see something like this, what does that mean? What does that there mean to you? We're on a 30-minute chart. What does that there mean to you? Right there. That pullback, that wick. What does that mean to you? Yeah, Todd. Marvin, yeah. Clay, you don't count. Well, you count. I just can't. Yeah, it's going to be a slingshot move, right? That would be a slingshot move. We probably noticed that. This was a pullback, and it slingshotted up until this pullback, and it slingshots up until this pullback, and then we go to the end. So when you look at this on a lower level chart, this is 30-minute. When you look at this, let's say on a 5-minute or 10-minute chart, these pullbacks are going to have Fast 33, tab 29, down at lower level. These are going to have retrace extreme potential. And that's what we're looking for, because we want to catch that slingshot. And, you know, this is, those that have been trading a while, you know, I think the most tenured trader we have, you know, outside of myself, Tim Packus is here. Let me see. Some of you are starting to catch up. Bill Lane is here. Good, Bill. So, you know, even you guys that have been hard at it for 2 years now, you know, I'm not trying to embellish anything, and I know I have a little bit of natural bias, but I'm trying to be as transparent and unbiased as I can be. There has been no better combined setup for a newer trader than a harmonic scan that paints the C that you can put an XAC fork on, and if you've learned Retrace Extreme the Clay way, you've got all you need to make millions. Literally. It's all there. And this beats, you know, Tim Packus here, Mr. Pitchfork, you know, has drawn thousands and thousands of pitchforks. And I guarantee you, his effort in doing so was to find an ideal fork that proved itself over time, so then he knew he could continue to trade it for pips. And it would be, hey, I post this pitchfork, let's see what happens. And 3 weeks later, sometimes months later, he would bring back a fork and show you trades that he just got off of it. But there was a lot of, you know, we were talking in one of the leadership groups, you know, the company level for this EA thing, about, you know, and I mentioned this the other day, venture capitalists. You don't go out and assume every company you invest in is going to be successful. I don't care how much due diligence and, you know, what kind of analysts you have to work pro forma statements and everything else. You know, markets can change, competition can come. I mean, you do due diligence not in the beginning, but if you get 20% of the companies you invest in to win, you're doing good as a venture capitalist. And I'm telling you, that's what it was like in the old days. That's what Mr. Packus went through, was, you know, drawing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pitchforks a year to find the 10 or 20% that would yield good, consistent trades more than one, right? And he's agreeing with me here. I mean, I know I'm not just, you know, shooting the breeze. And now you guys knew, I'm not trying to make it, hey, in the old day, you know, 20 miles to school, holes in the shoes, 20-pound potato stack on each shoulder, blah, 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 uphill both ways. You know, I'm not doing that kind of thing, but I am saying the tools that you have now can allow you to come in. I mean, Clay and Todd and Josh and, you know, that whole group, Tim Munsinger. I mean, if you guys had this within the first month, right? So you newer guys, that feel like you're overwhelmed, let me just tell you, this is the accelerator here. To have a scan that you can drop down. Now, TradingView is the ultimate combination. Again, slight biased plug, but I'm just saying it. Is when you move this stuff over to TradingView and you have a chart layout, whether it's 3 up or 4 up, or you're a premium user and you have 6 or 8 up, and you turn on sync and visibility, how many of you have ever adjusted your 30-minute fork based on the actual hits you got on your 1-minute fork? How many of you have ever gone, and what I'm talking about, if you have a 3 up layout, let's just say you have a 3 up layout, and excuse my layouts for not being equal size because I'm just doing this on the fly. And let's say this is your 30-minute chart, and this is your 5-minute, and this is your 1-minute. And over on your 30-minute chart, you have a pitchfork, and on that pitchfork, you're showing a hit down here like that, and you've adjusted this pitchfork to make that hit, right? And you go and you turn visibility on, and you look at your 1-minute chart, assuming they're all synced to the same pair, and you look at that and you zoom in and you move your chart, scroll your chart to that point in time, and you see this. Well, now you could go over here on your 30-minute chart and you can literally I'm going to go this way, and that's going to lift the bottom of the fork up just a tad, and you could be lifting it on your 30-minute chart, watching this turn into the direct hit. So you can use your 1-minute chart as a magnifier for setting your 30-minute chart. And oh my gosh, now you've got it set. And of course, if you do that with your 1-minute chart, it's going to be perfect on your 5-minute chart as well. Most of the time you can set it on your 5-minute chart, and therefore your 30-minute chart is going to be okay. So you've got these great tools, but then you've got TradingView, which allows you to turn visibility on. Visibility works on all levels of charts. It's not just a pro, or is it? It's not just a premium feature, is it? It's Pro Plus, right? Yeah. Sync and visibility, I think, are it's on the free too. Okay, so there you go. But you should have Pro Plus. I'm telling you, you should have Pro Plus. It's just, you know. So, well, visibility is an option on your menu tab, you know, on your TradingView charts. See, it says here, visibility. And it lets you set which charts you would have this this fork show up on based on what you have checked over here. Do I want it to show up on my daily chart? Do I want it to show up on an hourly chart? And if I'm doing minutes, which ones? I could restrict it to be, you know, just 15, or I can take it past 30, you know, etc. And then it'll show up on all those time periods. Same thing with the trend line. Same thing with a Fibonacci. All of your tools have visibility. So as long as your layout is synced, and then you turn visibility on your drawing tool or whatever you put on, it'll show up on all the charts. And it's a godsend because it's just a degree of accuracy that, you know, you can deploy. So anyway, when I go down in time frame, then, you know, I would be able to see these moves. Now we're on the C, and so you have an opportunity. We need a little bit more data. You know, the only reason you would be fast on the trigger is if you actually saw the C touch, okay, and you know, you have to watch. I haven't watched how fast, like on a, let's say if you went all the way down to a 5-minute scan, has anybody timed from the actual point of the C to when you get notified? I haven't looked for the delay because I'm just not super interested in getting in the C. Yeah, it depends on the scan and the time frame that you're on. We should do that. Now, one comment, Clay mentioned this the other day. Was that in session, Clay, or was that just you and me talking? I don't remember. But one thing you want to notice here is, see our pitchfork and how we have this set up with the C trade? This is what? Our 30-minute chart. Normally I'm looking for 15, you know, as far as what I'm teaching you guys, but I just went here because it was the most recent non-shark C paint, and I wanted to just show you that it does do it. But you have to remember what multiple time frame brings to the table. See, I might go and do a search of 5-minute scans, and if I'm paying attention to what I'm seeing, I let my RIS be open to what I'm seeing, I very well may find at the 5-minute level I'm going to go this magenta. Let's see if it shows up. I said magenta. Yeah, it'll show up. You very well may find at your 5-minute level, you see something like this. Where this is the C, which means when you're expecting the D to complete. You get to watch this move because you got notified on this C, assuming you have 5-minute and C's set in your notifications, right? So you very well may be ready to see this swing end, which is why sometimes doing before scan forks helps. Yeah. So, do you follow what I'm saying there, guys? So you very well, because remember, these are reversals. The D is a reversal point, and it's based on Fibonacci at time period, right? There may also be things down below, if you were looking at 30-minute or even here, that you may see before this, before the C gets painted, you may see things going on the charts. There may be other scans. There may be pitchforks at the lower level where, you know, you just have a bunch of warning lines off of at a smaller time frame. And, well, you know, old paradigm, say if you hold an old paradigm influence, old paradigm head trash with you, what ends up happening is you'll just, you know, you're going to create your own law of attraction, you're going to be your own self-fulfilling prophet. Because a lot of them will say, oh yeah, after the fact you can go and find that stuff. And that's true. Most traders with skill sets can find things after the event. They can go back and dress it up and say, well, this, look, we had this here and we had that, we had the Fibbo, and, you know, they go and draw a pitchfork, and there were 20 pitchforks you could have drawn, and they draw the one that makes it work. I get all that. This is why you have harmonic wave convergence. Because as price is moving up to this point, let's say you're on your 30-minute chart or your 15-minute chart, you know, down below, if it was 15-minute chart, you're going to see that 15-minute wave getting up to pushing. It's getting near the extreme. So you start to anticipate something happening. That's when you start looking to say, well, is there Fibbos up here? Is there, you know, other pitchforks? Are there trend lines? Is there something here that makes sense for price to terminate? So when it goes that little extra bit right there and tags it, boom. So you can very well be in this C trade as a sell before the scan even tells you it's a C. It just depends on how you're trading and what your setups are and how you're using multiple time frame convergence. And Clay says, C scans 513.62 waveology Clayway equals time to retire. Well, what you really mean is TTR, Tim, Clay. Time to retire. There's another TLA. Wayne, are you here? Got the TTR factor. TMA, too many acronyms. TMA, TLA, right? So this is what a tenured trader does, is they start looking for stuff, and now you've got this great tool. But anyway, look, for the brand new trader, for the trader that's just getting underway, the scanner, learn the pitchforks, and look, we used to Charlie Delta, there were 3 potential forks. We had the Charlie Delta, we had the X-ray Alpha Charlie for a scan that's already completed, and then we had the X-ray Alpha Delta. Does that mean there weren't other swings you could use? What about the BC? What about the BD? What about the XB? What about the X, you know? Yeah, they're there, but now you're trying to train 27 different RAS sets on scans. So we narrowed it down to Charlie Delta in just 3 sets. If there weren't anything there, you just move on to another pair or another time frame for that pair. There's plenty there. Now, this is gone, and this as a start, and this is gone, and you have one thing to draw. He had one job to do. So you turn your alerts on for the C paints, for the C being identified. Once the C's identified, you draw your pitchfork, and now you're set, and just wait. Again, this should be an impulsive move. So you're looking for a pullback in that impulsive move. Thanks, Chuck. Really awesome, Steve. Yeah, really awesome, Steve. Yeah, and there's plenty of alerts. You can narrow it down just by changing time frames. You don't need daily and weekly and monthly, you know, C alerts unless you're really willing to take a trade there. But I hope within a depending on how long you've been here, within a 2 to 3 month period, you can see the true multiple time frame capability and how monthly trades and weekly trades can be entered with this kind of thinking, with this kind of understanding. You could enter a weekly trade on a 5-minute chart. What are the basic scanner traders that are just taking the D trade? They're waiting for the scan to paint. The old, I won't name company names, but speaking of TLAs, but you're waiting for the scan to paint, and it generally wouldn't paint until it's right about here in the pattern, and then the pattern paints. The advantage of having the C here is it gives you plenty of time. These are 30-minute candles. It gives you plenty of time to look. They identify the PRZ on the chart for you. It gives you plenty of time to validate that. Can I find some pitchforks somewhere that have a main line in there? Do I see something here, Fibonacci? Can I find some trend lines that might show up in that area? Because it's giving you a target area, so now you have time to seek it out in advance. Whereas if you're just waiting for that scanner to come down here and then paint, wow. So this is a gift. Yeah, this is the original Indiana Jones, where he was being sarcastic in rehearsal with the guy with the knives or machetes, doing his thing, and he just pulled out his gun and shot him. You got the gun. You've got the gun. Turn water into wine. I kind of like that. Yes, Troy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you. I won't even mention the fact that the granddaddy who kind of conceived all of this doesn't even teach this, because it would be doing a disservice to what he's taught for almost 20 years. But pitchforks were an advancement on the basic scan, and now we've got the X-ray Charlie, which is what time period, Tim? All right, here's a question. I want you guys be the judge. Here's the question. Where does the C land in terms of using the Fibo tool? Okay, thanks, Todd. No, the question was specifically about the C, and the answer is you're not understanding what a scan is. Because the C is drawn and projected in this case by the XA move and a retracement down from that, and the AB and the retracement up from that. So there's multiple Fibos already at play. There's no need to have to bring out a Fibo tool and measure. And in terms of projecting the D, that gray area says I've got 3 or 4 Fibos that project into that area. So I don't need to measure it. It's redundant. It doesn't add anything to the equation. Does that make sense? So you don't need to worry about it. It's already done for you. This is why I say this is the greatest beginner and advanced trader tool, because it makes things so easy. It's all that work's done for you. And now you've got lines that are so full of Fibonacci, it's not even funny. Because of the scan, multiple sequential Fibbo relationships that have to be certain things in order for that paint to paint, in order for the scan to paint. And then you've got the C lined up with the C. Now remember, we know in the end, this may be wrong. See, you gotta be careful what you're focusing on. Wait a second, Steve, let's back up. You said in Charlie Delta, there were 3 kinds of forks. The Charlie Delta itself, which was technically a Charlie Delta X-ray, right? That was the traditional. That was the Andrews traditional, AT. And then you have the XAC, and you have, as long as they'll point in the correct direction, you have the XAD. And depending on which way the scan is and which way the fork is, we bring the upper parallel to the C or the D and the bottom parallel to the C or the D. So if these are both potentially viable, and I'm always forcing here the C, aren't I really saying if we just want to take a statistical norm, which it probably isn't, I can't tell you what it would be, aren't we actually taking out 50% of the potential forks if we automatically draw the XAC? Isn't that true? It's not so much, that is correct. The only way we can draw the D is to wait for price to get to the D and bounce off of it so we know it's valid. Then we can also draw the XAD, and then we might be able to judge from after the D is hit, from that point in time, which one of the forks is going to be best, XAC or XAD. We're not trying to do that here. We're not waiting for price to get to the D, and it's not about the D at this point. Well, it is, but not in that sense. It's not playing the D. We're about trading to the D. So whether this fork should be set there when we get to this point in time, and again, price is going to continue this way, and this D is going to swing out. So let's say it's maybe here eventually. So when price finally gets down to the D, we now have 2 forks we can draw, touching the top to the C or the bottom to the D, to tell us how price may act once we get there. We're not caring about that. We'll care about that later. We're making pips before that happens. That's not our concern now. See, what I'm trying to say is, watch this. If I pick this fork up and move it, and let's just pretend, when all said and done, that we realize the D would have been the better touch. Because when all said and done, we watch price, and it comes down, and it actually comes down and bounces there. So once it does that, we then know, well, D is the better touch, but again, what we're talking about there is price action after that point in time. Trades we may get after that point in time. Watch this very closely. If price comes down here and bounces there, and we'll just label that 1, or I make it the C, and I'll change my color to red, price actually comes down to here and then bounces, and we'll call that 2. In terms of Retrace extremes going from here to those points, does it matter whether it's 1 or 2? If I get a retrace extreme here to pull back, does this slingshot here to take me back into impulsivity, does it really matter eventually whether the bounce is going to occur if the top was aligned at C or if the bottom's aligned at the D? Not at all. These are bonus pips. These are free pips with high degrees of probability and all the tools in the world to get before you start worrying about what's going to happen after this. We use Charlie Delta and the D, Charlie Delta, CDX, and then we have XAC and XAD. Those will give us typically 2 to 5 trades more than just the scan D trade. Now that we have the C painting and we can catch impulsive moves here, this is a 30-minute chart. Now it's only 50 pips wide, but we still may get 2 to maybe 3 really good, strong short-term trades. They might be 7 pips, they might be 12 pips, they might be 4 pips, but we can get 2 to 3 trades before we even get to the D. So it used to be 2 to 5 times more trades than the single scan trader. Now we have the ability to load up on trades before we even get to that point. This is why it's so incredible. Yeah, God bless Fibonacci-ness. And you have a scanner that tells you when the C is there. In the example currently shown, we would no longer care about the scan if price passes the C. Well, if past prices the C by an amount that is not within the parameters of the scan's going to go away. It's not going to stay there. The scan never materialized. This is an incomplete scan at the time the C is that you're notified of the C. And all it's saying is, so far, based on the parameters of this particular pattern, we have enough evidence to say this is where the C would be, and it's actually bouncing there. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and call it a pattern that has high potential and show you the notification for C. But if it's a potential scan. Exactly, Nick. But whatever the parameter is for that scan for the C, some of these have a little bit of slush, and in the matrix for what defines that pattern, the software knows that. And if it's within the parameters of the slush and price is bouncing there, then it'll show. That's why I was asking if anybody's actually seen, depending on time frame, how many candles paint or what the pip distance is per time frame before they give you the notice that the C is painted. I mean, it's not going to be, oh, here's the Fibonacci level 1 pip and we're going to call it a C. But how much slush do they need? I don't know. Yeah, it's usually within, I notice it by 2 to 4 candles. I don't know if that's going to be it. 1 or 2 candles based in the picture, so when it's notified. Yeah. And I wouldn't doubt, because it's, the thinking that goes behind this product, that they also have a matrix or an array based on pattern, and if the C paints a particular price and price reverses there, they probably have a percentage table that says, well, for the crab, for the butterfly, for the Gartley, etc., they know which ones are more precise and which ones need a little extra leeway. So I would bet there's a little bit. It's not just, oh, it hit a Fibbo, let's show them a C, So it's just a huge Mongo tool. And if somebody understands pips, risk, candlesticks, probably in a 2-hour class, you could be taught how to trade with the scanner and this pitchfork and have no other training. Now, granted, when you get more skills, you'll be able to get in these things earlier, you'll be able to stay in them longer, but I'm just saying you could get up to speed very fast with this. And we may well put together an accelerated course for those that want to venture there. Take at your own risk, because we know we're skipping out a lot, but we're just trying to get you the fast track to trading. Yep. So quite a tool, and those that jumped on it early on, have those diamond plans at a decent price. So there's really not a lot to teach. Now we get into the the finer levels of and look at how this progressed. You had we had certain rules in tab 29 for retrace extremes. Fast comes along, we're dealing more lower level. We go back to using tools we used a long time ago with this harmonic wave conversion technology. Clay put together the Clay way, and that was all before the C paints. So these tools and the teaching we've been doing are already in place. It's like, again, no offense how you see the world, but it's like God was shining down on this, and everything was lined up. The planets were lined up. Taught pitchforks for a long time. Had one of the first ones to jump on the scanner. We did Charlie Delta. We did X-ray Alpha and X-ray Alpha C touch, X-ray Alpha D touch. We did come up with fast, so everybody could benefit from harmonic wave conversions. Clay did the Clay way. He's taught it once. He's taught it twice. We did 513 stuff. All the stuff is in place. There's no excuses, really. It's just have to be willing to see. Yeah, it's persistence, exactly, the willingness to succeed. And it's all been in place, and it's all here now. It's all come together. I don't, been at it a long time, guys. I don't think you're going to get a much better setup in terms of tools for not just random trades, not, what's going to, I hope you see this relationship with the scans. Let me ask you guys something. Do you think there's a season for harmonic scans? Butterfly season. Yeah, in the summer with the crabs. Right. There's no season to harmonic scans. Do you think there's literally a time of day? See, it's all Fibbo based, and when you really understand fractals and multiple time frame and waveology, you know there's waves all the time. Now, you know, the time to the apexes of those waves may be accelerated by the London session, by news, etc., but they're still the same waves. In other words, there's no season to this. What do you hear in the old paradigm? Oh, that system's good until the summer gets here. It's not worth trading unless you're in the London session. I know more six-figure traders who don't trade the London session. They actually sleep. They trade the U.S. session. So all that stuff about time of day, about season, it's myth. It's not myth for some elements of the old paradigm. It's what you have to have for the old paradigm. And if you're used to, 300 pip moves during the London session, and all the big boys in New York who call the shots are off in the Hamptons, chasing bikinis and skirts, yeah, you might not have 350 pips a night in late July and August. It doesn't mean there's not new paradigm trades, that you can't get rich off 5 pips a day. Doesn't matter time of day, doesn't matter season. Yeah, well said, Anthony. Every season is an open season on pips. The Wolf of Wall Street is on vacation. I don't care about the wolf. I just want to know where Margot is. Come on. Had to see the movie to understand that. So, questions. We looked at one scan, but oh my gosh, if price is moving, there's enough liquidity to trade. And price always moves in waves. Now, there are certain elements about liquidity that, are relevant to trading and do give you hints. Like, you will note in my wedge and triangle class that I'll talk about things like you can confirm the breakout by a large move in volume. Yeah, the DNA spirals, that's a marked consolidation issue. That's not so much a non-season. It's not a season issue or time of day issue because you can get a DNA spiral at any time. And we got more to go. We got more to go in terms of goodness. So, wait until you see the class on Monday. Your eyes are going to be opened even more than they are right now. All right. I would start with the scanner. Get your scanner subscription and get to these sessions and watch and then follow along. We will be releasing the classes. I got a couple more meetings with some outside forces that are helping me essentially determine how our classes are going to be, what classes we have, and the support level from our new coaches to support those classes. And we're down to the nitty gritty very end of being able to announce that. So we will have a roadmap with precision, not just generalities, with websites, with links here, go there, go there. And then there will be not classes, but support session to support the roadmap. That's the goal. All right. Well, we're good to go then. 90 minutes, that's the max I want to be, and we've exceeded that by a couple minutes. So appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully you got something of value that you can actually use. If not, hopefully you got something of value to motivate you to persist for the long haul. I posted the Next Level Seekers and in Scans, Forks, and Fibos the little 4 meme picture today about just persisting and don't quit. And quitting, a failure isn't mean, or you just keep pushing. Use failure to succeed. So with that, I will remind you, life can be short, and sometimes even shorter than that. So for the people who care and love, let them know you care and love them. Love you guys for carving out time and being here and being supportive of the session. Get your buddies here. Let's expand this. Let's help them. And with that, have a great weekend. I'll see you in Facebook land, and for sure Monday night we'll be here. Wedges and triangles. Let me do it in the Freeze Island Forks method. Wedges and triangles. Monday night, 1700 Eastern.